Let's say, let's do an example of a daily settlement. Suppose you established 10 long or short uh, 10 contracts, long or short position in bond futures. Margin requirement is $1,900 per contract. Hence, you have to place 10 times 1900. Let me put a dollar sign in front so that it keeps the format. $19,000 in the margin accounts. At the exchange. I mean, normally your bank puts it for you, but your bank would not or should not let you enter into that transaction unless you have the $19,000 free to put as collateral. Okay. At the time of uh, trade, GBP futures are at 132.46. Okay, which means GBP USD is and suppose at the end of the trading day, which I do believe is 3 o'clock Central Time, but you can check. Uh, exchange post settlement price of 131.50. Okay. Now that settlement price is almost like the closing price, but they do some sort of averaging at the last minute or so because they want to prevent manipulation of the closing print. So whatever the exchange has at the settlement price, based on that settlement price, exchange calculates daily profits or loss. We shorten that to P&L. Okay. Here is how that goes. Number of signed contracts. That sign is positive for longs, negative for shorts, times contract size, times settlement price minus trade opening price. So if you are 10 contracts long, So you have positive 10, okay, times contract size is 6225 times settlement price is 131.50 minus you open the trade at 132.46. Let me put a dollar sign in front of this so that I can get everything in dollars. So you lost $6,000 that day, at least on paper. All right? Which means value of your margin account went down to 19,000 minus 6,000 to 13,000. There's a limit. Until then, exchange doesn't tell you that you should do something about it. The initial margin is called the initial margin, but there is also a number called maintenance margin. If you go below that, exchange in the old days, you literally got a phone call that said, if you want to keep this position, you got to put in more money. Okay, that's why it was called margin call. Now, you know, sometimes I do margin trades on Robinhood. I literally get a text message or warning from Robinhood that you're at the risk of a margin call, do something about it. And that's the way that works. Let's go to specs, margins. Uh, this is main wall scan. If you basically go below, I think 80% of the initial margin, you're gonna get a margin call. I'm not sure what that is, so you need to read the. I haven't traded these things for a living for a long time. In the old days, they actually told you what the maintenance margin was. But if it's too low, you're gonna get a margin call. On the other hand, let's calculate what goes on if you have a short contract. Of course, minus 10. I should not even have to calculate this, but you actually made $6,000, which means your margin account went up to $25,000. If you have more money in your margin account than that is necessary, the initial margin, you can actually withdraw that. Because to keep this position, I need to keep only 19,000, right? If I don't want to close this position. So I can withdraw that 6,000. That's typically a good idea because they pay you only Fed funds rate on the margin account, which may be a rate much lower than you could get somewhere else for your own money. So you can withdraw the excess above the initial margin requirements of 19,000. So if you have too little, exchange is going to give you a call and say, make it back to 19. But they don't do that immediately. You know, if you lost only $1,000, you're not going to get a margin call. But if you lost $12,000, you will get a margin call. Remember, exchange is worried that you may not honor your end. So they're basically covering their own tuchus. Or I'm sorry, tuchus. You got to do correct Yiddish. Uh, on the other hand, if you have too much money, you don't have to keep it there. Just like a margin trading account on Robinhood. I bought something on margin, value of that increased. I can actually withdraw some of the money, which I typically do.